Hello, everybody, and welcome to Phantom Push. I'm Victor Q, your host, and today we're going to be talking about a feed I found on Reddit, and it goes, anyone ever had folks insist that you're not disabled because you are intelligent and or articulate? This is something that a lot of people who deals with disability go through. You might not be aware of it. People might not tell you what you're thinking or how less they think of you, but a lot of people go through such things. And to this particular user, you're not alone. Persons with disability already have a bad reputation for not being part of society or perhaps not contributing anything to society, let alone working, right? I think that in most job sites, when people find out or when the employers find out that you're disabled, I think that a lot of them will go as far as possible just to make sure that you're not hired there. And mind you, this year would be the 35th year that the ADA Act was erected. Basically, what that means, it just means that employers shouldn't discriminate against persons with disability. Yet, that's not the case. We'll continue to fight for equality. And it's, just looking at everything that's going on, laws are being dismantled. I think it's unnerving to see what's happening. I mean, it was just last month when President Trump blamed the Potomac airplane accident on a person or persons with disability not being able to do their job, calling it a DEI, disabled incident.
Last week, long before the crash, I signed an executive order restoring our highest standards for air traffic controllers and other important jobs throughout the country. So it was very interesting. About a week ago, almost upon entering office, I signed something last week that was an executive order, very powerful, on restoring the highest standards of air traffic controllers and others, by the way. Then my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent. You have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses. You can't have regular people doing that job. They won't be able to do it. But we'll restore faith in American air travel. I'll have more to say about that. I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so.
I was shocked when I saw that. It tells me is that, oh wow, things are already difficult with persons with disability now. I feel like this is another Roe versus Wade or Roe v. Wade incident where something that had been put in place is now being dismantled in an instant. So I wouldn't be surprised to see how a lot of people will look at people with disability and think that, yeah, you don't belong here. You don't go here. And it's a shame. I just never thought that in this day and time that again, people are not as open-minded as we all should be. That you have quite a big group of people, of individuals that, let's say you're not part of that specialty, that population, but instead of trying to educate themselves, they would do everything and anything possible just to bring that particular community down. And that's basically what we're seeing today in society. So yeah, it's a really shame. I mean, as somebody who deals with, physical disability, sometimes I think that when I go to some places, the way that people speak to me, they speak to me as if I'm a 3-year-old kid without a parent, somebody who isn't accompanied by his guardian or something. And I see that and I think to myself, well, I guess this is what people with disability have been reduced to. And I think that it's a real shame because while there are people with learning disability, people who perhaps might not be cognizant of their environment, but I think that first of all, if you were to define this disability, then you'll realize that disability comes in many areas. Okay, people who are obese or have a disability. There are people with learning disability. You have depression, that is disability, physical disability. So when you think about disability, I feel like there's a lot of characteristics of disability, but I think that being able to just sum up the entire group of persons with disability into one area, yeah, so it's a real shame. And again, with all the moving parts, all the dismantling of things that are already in place, I believe with the president right now, basically speaking of people with disability in a pejorative fashion, I believe that's going to give employers and individuals alike a lot more ammunition to basically discredit persons with disability indiscriminately. And I think this is a terrible recipe. And it's sad. I don't know what we can do as a community of persons with disability other than just amplify either by talking like I'm talking or on social media just to have the people who are willing to listen because these are crazy times. I mean, with all the firing of government officials, I read that most of the DEI people with disability who were part of the government workforce have been terminated, or I mean, not all of them, but they have a much higher risk of all losing their jobs. So the thought process here, the implication here is that because you're disabled, that means that you lacked intellect. And it's just not how that works. In a time where people don't really think critically. People don't really isolate a problem and think for themselves. What is this that I'm reacting to? I think they depend on, let's say, a group of body with the biggest megaphone to just say what they need to say and then run on that. And I just believe that we have to do better as individuals. We have to do better as society just to make sure that everybody, whether you're dealing with disability or you're part of the LGBTQ community, everybody deserves a right, because you don't have disability doesn't mean that you won't have disability. So, I mean, you can be crossing the street and get run over by a car or something. And that could alter your physiology for the worst. And then now what happens? Now you become part of that thing that you undermined, part of that thing that you hated, part of that thing that you didn't think highly of. So because your life is going well doesn't mean that it's gonna continue to get well. So we have to be not only empathetic, but we have to understand that disability is something that can happen to anybody at any time. And the funny thing is that, some people who probably have some form of disability don't even know that they have disability, but they would, for whatever phenomenon, just look at people who have a disability that's quite apparent, look at them and as not being a part of society. They will look at people people with disability in a workforce and think that, yeah, that's DEI, as if DEI is without merit. I'm just bewildered by it all, and we have to do better. And yeah, that's my take on it. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.